Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online is speaking to Mpumi Zikalala, the Senior Vice President of De Beers Sightholder Sales South Africa. Mpumi, can you appraise us of the present state of the diamond business in South Africa as we sit on the sidelines of the 8th Oppenheimer De Beers Conference on Conservation?
We are excited about the 8th annual conference. It's on a subject that we are highly passionate about as the De Beers group of companies, which is around conservation. We are very proud of the product that we mine and sell, and firmly believe that one cannot do that without looking after our environment. And then coming back and talking about the market, in 2016, we actually had a good year from a market perspective. So if one looks at it, we saw an increase in the global consumer demand for diamond jewelry. And from a US perspective, we saw that for the first time ever, that market exceeded $40 billion worth from a diamond jewelry sales perspective. And then coming out of that into 2017, the first half of this year has essentially been good, coming from the back of the 4.4% growth that we saw from last year. And again, this is primarily driven by the US. The other thing that excites us is that in terms of this year, we've seen an improvement in both the Chinese and Indian markets as well. And again, this is more on the retail side, which is something that is good. So where do we think we are going in terms of the remainder of the year? We expect to still see further marginal growth. This will, of course, depend on what will happen on the global macroeconomics front, and things such as exchange rate in terms of the different countries will come into play. So as we always say, we remain cautiously optimistic about the future in terms of the consumer space that we see from a diamond jewelry perspective. Coming into the rough space, you might recall that in 2016, we spoke about inventory indigestion that we saw from a pipeline perspective. And we then went into the first half of 2016, where we saw the rebound. That was obviously followed by the Indian demonetization program that followed thereafter. And where we're sitting right now, we see ourselves being in what we would typically call normal trading. We saw ourselves commissioning from one of our mines in Canada, Gachagua mine. You might also have heard that we also launched our new vessel that's operating in the west coast of Namibia, the SS Neoma vessel. And then coming back closer to home, because obviously from a business perspective, we are highly passionate about South Africa. We are investing the $2 billion investment that's looking at extending the life of mine of Venetia, and that will take us to beyond 2040. Our geologists tell us that South Africa remains one of the best prospective areas when they look at the resources that they think exist from a global space perspective.
Can you expand then on the contribution that diamonds can make to this economy and to the people of South Africa?
Diamonds were part of the story of the economical development of South Africa, I guess the South African mining industry as we see it today. So if you think about it, over a century ago, the revenue coming out of diamonds invested in other elements of our mining industry that were being developed at the time. And then if we bring it back to today where we sit, I spoke about the fact that we are investing the $2 billion at Venetia. If you think about it, what is that doing? That's securing future employment for people. That's providing procurement opportunities. And we are highly excited about the space because we've seen ourselves having, I guess, additional suppliers coming through, and this followed our community fair at Venetia, where we were introduced to additional local suppliers who have come through and are supplying us with various things that we need at Venetia, both from an open pit perspective and from an underground perspective. And then something that we are highly passionate about is enterprise development. And we obviously have our De Beers Zimele model that we work on. It forms part of the broader Anglo-American model. De Beers Zimele on its own has created over 3,000 jobs since its inception. It obviously forms part of the Anglo-American Zimele model, which holistically has created over 50,000 jobs since its inception. And we love this because Zimele is all about what we promote, which is about allowing small enterprises to stand up for themselves. And then something else that we're passionate about is beneficiation. The great thing from beneficiation space is that we spoke to you last year when we launched our enterprise development model for young HDSA beneficiators in South Africa. The 5 players that form part of this program have amazed us, Martin. That's just the truth. We spoke last year that we are taking them through a holistic developmental model that's considering their business growth, that's considering the growth of their technical skills, it's considering additional things, including them getting supply from us. So we've just come out of our Site 8 last week, and guess what? They were there looking at goods and purchasing goods similar to the rest of our clients in South Africa. And as we've always said, this model is critical for us because it's not just a DBS thing. It's about a model that exists. It requires all the industry players in South Africa to come together and work towards developing small enterprises.
And will those enterprises be involved in cutting and polishing of those diamonds in South Africa?
They are cutters and polishers. They hold beneficiation licenses. I've personally, together with my team, visited some of the areas where they cut and polish their goods. We've just come back from the Hong Kong show with some of them where, they were there. They had stands. They were displaying the product that they cut and polished, and frankly experienced the industry as would any other player would.
And would they come to your Sightholder sessions in the future? Are they permanent people in the system?
Yes. So Martin, where we sit right now, they would come to us and indicate that they would like to look at specific goods in terms of sight, and those are the goods that we would supply. And the wonderful thing is that our aggregation and sales model allows us to mix like-for-like diamonds from all the different countries where we operate, that being South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, and Canada. And coming out of that, we have the ability to then provide more certainty and consistency in terms of what different clients would be looking for, because obviously that brings the scale that allows us to say to a young cutter and polisher that if these are the types of diamonds that you would like to purchase simply because of what your ultimate customer would be looking for, we would be able to essentially provide that. So we're highly excited about that space and look forward to the growth of those young beneficiators.
And if we had more diamonds coming through here, do you think you'd be able to create more of these beneficiators? We have a situation where in 3 years' time now, we'll have the closure of Voorspoed. What will fill that gap? Are those diamonds different to what you get from Venetia, or can Venetia fill that?
So, Martin, I spoke about the fact that exploration is critical because, when we look at our future from a supply-demand curve perspective, we definitely think that demand will exceed supply. So we do need diamonds that would come in to fill that gap. Bring it closer to home. Voorspoed obviously does have a slightly different profile of goods from Venetia, and that's where we continuously look at finding new mines to fill that gap. Aggregation, however, does help, because what it does do is that it means that even if Venetia is mining in different areas, we would still have our ultimate mixture, international mixture, that will fulfill the demand for specific goods that our beneficiators would have asked for.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online, talking to Mpumi Zikalala, the Senior Vice President of De Beers Sightholder Sales South Africa,